Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/AITA. In today's episode, AITA for literally showing my dad how he behaves every day when he gets home from work. AITA for refusing to allow a photo of my future MIL's miscarriages at my wedding. AITA for not being an active grandparent. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. AITA for literally showing my dad how he behaves every day when he gets home from work. My F16 father M46 is the breadwinner while mom is a som. She handles everything around the house like cooking, mopping, washing, laundry, etc. I'm the oldest and I try to help, but really there's only so much I can do while my dad just gets home at the end of the day and literally complains about everything. Like how the carpet isn't clean or how the food is cold. As a result, I'd have to listen to a huge argument daily between him and mom. It's exhausting, but honestly, I think that my dad is in the wrong here. I tried talking to him to get him to see how his behavior is, but to no avail. So what I did was pick a day off for him and pretend to act like him. I put together an outfit that looked like a suit and put black tape over my lips to look like a mustache. At 6 p.m., I went inside the house, shouted I'm home, then sat next to him in the living room and started kicking my shoes while complaining about the state of the house at the top of my lungs. He glanced at me confused, asking what I was doing. I ignored him, then started yelling about the carpet being dirty, shower not ready, the kids needing to be quiet, and so on. He kept staring while mom and my siblings laughed. My youngest brother kept pointing towards me saying, "This is daddy." I then proceeded to yell about dinner, then berated my mom for not preparing UT before time. My dad stopped me and in a serious tone asked what I was doing. I turned to him and said, "What? Can't a man effing rest after working long hours?" in the most macho voice I could muster. My dad got the hint because this was the common phrase he uses daily. He went quiet and avoided looking at me. I stopped the act and told him I was trying to show him what he's like every day when he comes home from work. He said nothing, just went outside and refused to speak to me. Later, he went on about how I mock and invalidated him. That he does work hard and me doing this was disrespectful and invalidating. Mom said it was funny but also thought I hurt my dad's feelings and I could have gotten the message across some other way instead. AITA? NTA. You held up a mirror to his behavior, and he didn't like what he saw. That's on him. I hope he gets the message. He didn't even realize he was looking in the mirror until the end. Then all the feelings crashed down hard on him. Hopefully, he'll learn. Good job at figuring out a method that illuminated the situation. NTA first off, but I think you have a good chance here. Listen please, you can acknowledge, "Hey dad, I know that probably did hurt your feelings and I'm sorry. Of course you work hard and provide for us and we appreciate it, but I want you to see that your behavior hurts mom's feelings, hurts the family." The fact he went quiet, instead of exploding in anger, to me says there is hope. Like many dudes his age, he struggles to process those emotions, but he recognized he was feeling more embarrassed/hurt than angry, it seems. The key is to understand and withhold judgment, to recenter the convo on not just his pain, but everyone's feeling pain, and moving forward. That's tough, and you're a kid, it's not your responsibility to do it. You would be morally justified to say F off. But I always ask, do you want to win, or be right? Being right often feels hollow. I hope you win. I am going to go with NTA. This is genius. He didn't hear your words or your mom's words the many times you both told him the issues. Instead, you made him watch himself, and people don't like when a mirror is held up to their actions. As well, you are 16, and it is not your job to help regulate your parents' emotions. If your dad feels bad, that is on him. Your other methods fell on deaf ears, this one appeared to hit home. Good for you, OP. As well, you are 16, and it is not your job to help regulate your parents' emotions. If your dad feels bad, that is on him. I want to shout this part to the heavens. This is absolutely hilarious and well-deserved, and sometimes, people need to see how they're behaving reflected back at them to truly understand. Good job. NTA. LMAO, NTA. Dad's just clued into how toxic he's being without realizing he was being toxic. I expect Dad to still be broody for a while, but now would be a good time to have a sit down with him if he's cooled off enough explaining how you feel, and how you feel he treats your mom. And most importantly, what he's showing to your sibling and showing them it's okay to be like this, when it isn't. Breadwinner doesn't mean you get to throw your weight around as soon as you get home. Breadwinner with a SAH parent should ultimately be praising the SAH parent for continually keeping the place tidy and taking care of cooking/children. Maybe this is the wake-up call your father needs. NTA. You held up a mirror, and he didn't like what he saw. NTA. Maybe have a conversation with him about what you should look for in a husband when the time comes. Make him spell out what a good husband does and doesn't do. Ask a lot of specific questions. Thing is, he probably wants good things for you. The good news is that he was embarrassed instead of just angry. There may be hope yet. AITA for refusing to allow a photo of my future MIL's miscarriages at my wedding? Throw away because this is already enough of a mess. TW, miscarriage/stillbirth. I, 26F, am planning my wedding to my fiancé, 27M, in a few months. Everything is going great and I love him so much. I can't wait to spend my life with him. He loves my family, and I, for the most part, love his. A bit of background, fiancé has a much older brother. While my future MIL was pregnant 3 times in between them, all of them resulted in late miscarriages and stillbirths. As a result, MIL put all of her motherly love and attention on fiancé. He had never tried a fruit or vegetable before I met him because his parents never made him when he was young and he had grown up assuming they were gross. I got him to try some and he loves them now. As we were planning our guest list, we consulted our families about which and how many relatives we should invite. Future MIL asked that we invite fiancé's dead brother and sisters. When we asked what she meant, she wanted us to put up a framed photo of the dead babies in the pews at our wedding ceremony, and then save them seats at our reception. I was horrified. First of all, we are trying to have a fairly small wedding to start with, and a beautiful, intimate venue. We can only have seats for 30 to 50 people, and I would like these places to be for our friends and family, not people who have never met either of us because they are dead. Fiancé agrees that 3 of 50 seats reserved for dead people is too many. He suggested we compromise and just let MIL put up all 3 photos in one seat. Personally, I think it's gross and weird to include any of them. We're starting our lives together. We want to have a family and it almost seems like a bad omen, but it means a lot to her and it's a fairly small ask. Fiancé's parents are paying for 75% of our wedding, and this is the only request she's had. So AITA for still refusing? NTA, I have no words other than no way. That's the weirdest and creepiest thing I've ever heard. NTA. Your wedding is about you and your fiancé. It's not about anyone else or what they want, it's about the two of you and what you want. I can't even imagine going to someone's wedding and there've been photographs of dead babies in the pews. I can't even imagine how traumatic that could be for some people who have experienced a miscarriage or stillbirth. I would be drawing a firm boundary. I don't even understand your fiancé trying to compromise and potentially choosing to have those photos at your wedding. It's not the time, nor the place. If I wanted to tread carefully, I think my response would be, we don't know the personal stories of everyone attending our wedding and we have no idea whether or not some of our guests could potentially find photographs of dead babies traumatic. It's not a risk we're willing to take. But I probably wouldn't tread carefully, I would instead just be firm with boundaries. I think it's important to have a really clear conversation with your fiancé about this. OP, this is a test of your fiancé. If he doesn't back you up 100% on this issue, you should seriously reconsider marrying him. Do you really want to marry someone who caters to unreasonable, even crazy, requests from his mother? He agrees with me that it's a gross request, but he thinks compromise will avoid some drama. He's worried that if we flat out say no, that she will keep asking. NTA. That would be so disturbing. No one wants to see pictures of a dead baby at a wedding. My husband's grandmother died shortly before our wedding, so we added an in memory of line to our wedding program to acknowledge her. I truly hope your future MIL gets the counseling she needs. NTA. I'd be eloping. Just the thought of this is so twisted. I feel horrible for you. I'm so sorry. NTA. Your wedding is about you and your fiancé, not your MIL's tragic past. I understand that she wants to honor her lost children, but this is not the appropriate time or place. It's disrespectful to you, your fiancé, and your guests to have photos of dead babies at a celebration of life and love. It's also very creepy and morbid, in my opinion. Your MIL needs to understand that this is not her wedding, and she can't impose her wishes on you. She may be paying for most of it, but that doesn't give her the right to make such a bizarre and insensitive request. You are not obligated to accommodate her, especially if it makes you uncomfortable or unhappy. You and your fiancé need to stand your ground and tell her no. This is your day, and you deserve to have it the way you want it. Don't let her guilt trip you or manipulate you into doing something you don't want to do. She needs to respect your boundaries and your choices. AITA for not being an active grandparent? I, M47, have a son Jake, M26, who has his own son Mike, M5. Jake's mother and I only had a short-term relationship and it was an accidental pregnancy. To be blunt, I never wanted to be a parent, particularly not at 21. However, Jake's mother did and it wasn't my decision. Although we have always kept the peace, things have always been icy between us due to that. However, I always tried to do right by Jake. I would have him every other weekend and for a month during the summer, would do my best to deliver on anything he asked of me, treated him kindly and tried to be a good father. Then, at a certain point, his mother married a guy Jake hated and I had him move in with me once he was 13. I won't lie, I wasn't cut out to be a parent. I love Jake, but I just hated parenting. I did it anyway since he was my son. We have a very good relationship, and I've never shirked any responsibility to him. Jake also became a father at 21. However, he was all for it and is happily married to Mike's mother. I also got him into my electrician's union and had him set up on some good jobs. So, he was on much better footing than I was for a child. Back then, we had a long talk and I told him, Jake, being a parent is a very, very different life. It is hard, exhausting, and on a day-to-day basis, you don't really get to do what you want to do very much. It will be a very long time before you don't have that kind of responsibility anymore. Then the conversation turned to how I'd help him. I told him no. I am retired from parenting. I am turning back to my own life. He has his own home, union job, is engaged, and adult enough to decide to have a baby. He's the adult now. He's the parent. I'll be around, and if there are any emergencies, obviously I'll do what I can. But I won't be an active grandparent. I've largely held to it. I have been doing a lot of travel, I have a GF, hobbies, and to be blunt, I'm doing all the things I didn't get to do in my 20s. Do I see Jake and his family? Yes. However, I rarely agree to babysit. Jake resents that I don't go to Mike's games, they tend to conflict with my weightlifting club, and that I'm pretty hands-off with Mike. Things came to a head last week when Mike had a baseball tournament and I refused to go because I had plans to take a scuba class with my GF, which admittedly could be rescheduled. I didn't tell Jake this, but I spent so many Saturdays bored out of my skull watching Little League when Jake was little. I always cheered loudly, was crazy supportive, and never let on that it was like watching paint dry. But this is no longer my responsibility. So I told him, Jake, I spent 20 years parenting. That's enough. He then yelled at me that I am always jetting around, playing like a teenager and not putting him first. I told him that no, I wasn't. I did that for 20 years to get him on his feet as an adult. I've done that and can go back to prioritizing my own life. You might not be TA, but you're ruining your relationship with your son by essentially telling I don't care about being actively involved in your life. I've already done the bare minimum expected of me and I won't do more. Do you want him to go no contact with you? Because that's the direction this is heading in. Of course he does, he didn't want his own son in the first place and he puts very little store in relationships. Was a most absent barely there crap father, is hell-bent in being a mostly absent barely there crap grandfather. Jake going NC is almost the ideal for him. He grts freedom to do exactly what he wants all the time and say it's not his fault. What I am reading from this is that you knew you were not cut out to be a parent, you feel you have done your duty and are now determined to do everything you feel you missed out on. You can do whatever you like, and whether you are TA or not, your actions will have consequences, but only time will tell if you find you regret your actions or not. Indeed, you read it right. I have also considered exactly what you suggest in your last line. Thought very, very hard about it, in fact. I am far more likely to regret never getting to live my own life if I were to give that up again. YTA. My jaw dropped at all your replies. I'm so sorry how resentful you are of your son and having to be responsible for your actions, getting a woman pregnant. Parenthood doesn't stop at 18. Nah. It's your life, so live it how you want. I don't think Jake's expectations are that unreasonable, though. You are a pretty terrible father now. Parenthood isn't a job that you retire from. Being a parent never stops, my dude. You're entitled to free time, but you can't just tell him you've checked out of parenting. I mean, he can. It just makes him a cruel and heartless AH. YTA for being an AH. Just tell your kid you hate him and want nothing to do with him and his kid. Then you can go and be selfish and forget you were ever a parent. Clearly this guy has made up his mind, so I don't know why he's even asking for judgment. I know you said you hung up the parent hat, but that is a brutal and heartbreaking thing to put into practice. He has a kid at the same age you did, but for the first 13 years, you only had him for twice a month, plus an additional month, so that's 78 days per year you had him. You only took on more parenting work after his mother remarried, so you have what, 5 years of constant parenting? YTA. I wouldn't consider going to an occasional little league game or going to the zoo with your son and grandson. Parenting more like being a loving grandparent. Then again, if that's all you did for the first 13 years of your son's life, I suppose you would consider that parenting. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.